Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Elite Physique University. I'm John Gorman, your host. We've got Jason Theobald in the house. Jason, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing well. I'm still a little tired from the Physique Summit, I think. But other than that, I've caught up on everything and I'm doing well.
You know what's funny,
Or,
man?
the Physique Summit, I mean the Elite Physique University.
Don't worry about it because I keep calling it that. Leslie
Yeah,
calls it that. Everybody there was calling me back and
yeah,
calling it. And then all the emails that I got after, they're like, hey, we love the summit. And
yeah.
it's just one of those things. You and I have been involved with that for like
I
6 years.
know.
So it
Yeah,
just is what it is. But we are
yeah.
going to go into detail on that today. And we have a fun story to tell everybody that's
Kind of.
related to the Physique Summit last year. So before we get into that, what's new with you, man? Anything cool this week happening or something you want to pass along?
I think I will share. We had an author on my other podcast, Stephen Pressfield of Turning Pro. I had read the book before I came to the Elite Physique University seminar, and it's really it really hits on what we all kind of do as coaches because most of us had other careers and kind of take a leap. And the book talks about all of our former shadow selves, different careers we've had that we were kind of doing to kind of, bridge the gap. And we weren't really taking the leap into what we really found as our passions and kind of how to do that and kind of take hold of that and do it. So pretty cool book. It's called Turning Pro. You might want to check it out if you like to, read those types of things. Other than that, like I said, I've been real tired. And part of that's probably the story we'll tell that some of that's still hanging over. But I'm in good spirits. Everything's good. It's been a good week. And the weather's changing here. It's been like 80 and not humid. It's been sweet. So yeah, man, pretty good stuff.
Yeah, good times. I just one real quick thing with me is the hormone optimizer product that I have has been selling like crazy. I know we're going to end up selling out. We're sitting on like 40 of them, and I'm waiting on a big batch to come in. And I just got back. I've been getting a lot of labs from clients, but Billy Conklin is one of my athletes. He's a natural pro, and his levels went from, I just sent it to you to show you,
Yeah.
like the picture's pretty drastic. Like if you guys want to go on the Fat Muscle Project IG page, you can see the picture, but he's a natty guy. His total test went from, let's see here, 475 to 710 in 2 months using Optimizer,
Good.
which is pretty impressive. I didn't grab his free T. I think it was something like from 7 to 9, which, all that little bit helps if you're natty.
Yeah,
Um,
for ET such a small range. So I mean,
yeah.
even 1.5 is a pretty good bump when the range isn't very huge.
Yeah, so it's something that I'm pretty excited about, and I know you and I just talked about your Jumpstart product. I want to dig in more into that in a future episode, and I'm going to try and carry it over on my website as well. So we've got kind of a 1-2 combo, so you guys can stay tuned for that. Other than that, man, I think this is a fun episode. You and I need a break from all the
Yeah.
physique enhancement stuff. We just gave 6 classes, but
Yeah.
we're gonna kind of peel the curtain back. And a lot of people like these episodes. Like if you're a coach that's interested in ever speaking or holding your own event or being involved in something like this, you'll kind of see what goes into putting it on, and you'll get some fun stories today. But we needed the break, man. Our brains are mush. But next week we're having our good friend Austin Stout on, and we're
That'll
gonna
be
do
good.
yeah, we're gonna do a deep dive on heart attack prevention risk, understanding cholesterol. He's going to give a full deep dive presentation at the PEC on October 17th in Denver with you guys. So he's
Yep.
going to give full details there. We're going to have an episode on it. We'll touch on some of that stuff, but for those of you that are showing up to the PEC, that's going to be pretty badass. So next week we'll have Austin on, and it'll be back to us really digging in and getting geeky again. But I'm looking forward to this, man. It's kind of just story time with John and Jason, so to speak. Um, all right, man. I'm grabbing my notes here. This was
Yep.
a sold out event. We held it here in Springfield, Missouri. We had people in from California, Florida, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, Louisiana, and a bunch
Yep.
of people in between. Man, we sold it out with 50 people with COVID, and I was pretty happy, man. Like, would you feel about the vibe that we had there the whole weekend?
I thought it was a really good energy. I thought the people that were there were, obviously dedicated and ready to learn. At least that's the feeling I got because, I got a lot of good questions. And yeah, I thought that I thought we did pretty well overall. I thought it was a good energy. What'd you
Yeah.
think?
I got a lot of feedback. So, I get the emails because I send out all the mass emails. And one of the biggest things that I got, and I guess this just will never get old to me, man, a lot of people kind of get to where we are, and you and I both have a long ways to go, but people, they start to get a little bit of success and they let it go to their heads and they forget to
Mhm.
be humble. And, you and I were talking just how blessed we are. I'll never get over the fact that people actually just want to take a fucking picture, or they just want
Right.
to do this and that. And back to the emails that I got, people just said, like, you guys are so down to earth. You take your time to answer questions, talk with anybody, and answer messages after the event. It's just one of those things, if you're somebody out there listening, that's an honor to have somebody actually want to take a picture with you or show up to your event or just ask you a damn question. That's just something I just won't ever get over that, man. It's
No, I won't either. I won't either. It's very humbling, and I just like meeting new people anyway. So it's especially that are like minded. So
yeah.
it's always a tiring weekend, but it's always um, kind of you leave energized too, at least mentally. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, a lot of people have messaged me, my clients especially, said, I'm so motivated this week. Thank you so much. Every time I go to a conference and learn something new, I
Yeah.
come back recharged and ready to roll. Real quick before we get into this, on the outside, this looks kind of like a two-man show. John and Jason are doing this whole event, but it's never that way. You have to give credit to people behind the scenes. And we've got to give a shout out to um, Ryan Copus. Ryan is actually he's a New Ethics affiliate. He showed up and did registration for us, and he handled all of that. Plus, he helped out at the booth for any of the New Ethics stuff that people had questions about. Ryan's a trainer at my gym, very, very good trainer, very knowledgeable, and he stepped up and helped us out.
Mhm.
And Leslie and Jacob ended up running the booth overall with the New Ethics stuff and all the fat muscle stuff, and they just crushed it out there and gave samples out to everybody. So shout out to those two, because we really didn't have to worry about the booth at all,
No,
man. We both have
no,
products out there, but we could just teach and talk to people,
and talk to people.
yeah, and do our things. And then finally, a shout out to Adam Twardowski, the manager of my gym. He's always there, like no matter what we need. And he opened up the gym for us a couple days and made everybody feel at home, and just kind of did his thing. So, shout out to those people, because without them, like, dude, there's no way we can do all that shit and still run an event. You
No,
know what I mean?
no, not effectively. It allows us to get in there with people and answer questions. Otherwise, it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of peel the curtain back now. Like, just pretend that you're next to Jason and I, and you're going to speak, because that's kind of what this episode's going to be like. Let's start with you, man. You had a flight that came in on Thursday. What'd that look like for you? Did you pack food? I know I grabbed some
Yeah.
food here for you, but people want to know, like, what it's like to travel and do all that
Yeah,
stuff.
like here's how I travel. I keep it pretty simple. I'll always put like some weighed out whey protein in a protein shaker in my carry on, and then I'll bring a bunch of tuna packets and rice cakes and almonds. And so I know about how many carbs I need. And, so I can use those rice cakes and either grab that whey protein and I put water in it once I get through security, or I can grab some tuna. And so I just flop back and forth with those. And usually I only need 2 or 3 meals. So I keep it real easy. I know there's people that try to do chicken and rice and all these different things. I just keep it to the point where it's non-perishables. And I think I got in about 8 o'clock that evening. So everything went pretty smooth that way. And I like to get in town usually a little early for seminars so I can help set up and just be there and get, kind of get settled. So
I'm the same way. Anytime I speak somewhere, I try and show up a day early, because the last thing I want to do is show up the day of. It's
yeah,
always stressful for me, like trying to be somewhere on time and rent a fucking car or do whatever. Like that to me is the stress. It's like, okay, what can go wrong and make me late? I'd rather just be early,
yeah,
and that's just the way
100%.
that I am.
Yeah,
I know I went and got you food, so you stayed here at my house, which was
yeah,
kind of cool. We had plenty of time to bullshit and just catch up as friends, but kind of go
yeah.
over the game plan. So, um, how important is it for you to keep your food on point and your digestion on point when we've got a whole weekend of stress coming up? Like, I think that's something else that's good to point out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. I mean, that's why, I kind of wanted the foods that I know work well, my cream of rice, my jasmine, and you were good enough to go get all that and had some chicken made. And so, my eggs, and I keep things real simple. I mean, no one wants to feel like crap while you have to like prepare, not prepare, I mean, you're already prepared, but, give 3 presentations. So, it was very helpful to be at your house and not a hotel, and, have all that access to everything like that.
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to Friday. We did a test run. We went and set everything up early. I'm real big on that. So if you're someone here that's ever going to do what we're doing, I like to test everything. I test my projector. We set everything up. We looked at the presentations. We went and did all that. How much more comfortable did you feel once we had that shit done and we could just show up Saturday to just
Oh,
present?
it's huge. I mean, and it wasn't even really that hard. I mean, we got set up in what, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Um, and, yeah, you get a feel for the room, and you just get a feel for everything. So, yeah, I think we both kind of was like, oh, all right, let's feel a lot better now. Let's do this thing. So, yeah, for me, it's always good once you get everything out of the way. It's like your logistics for sure.
Yeah, and so the other thing is that let us eat the way we needed to eat, get rested up, because on Friday night we kicked off training
Mhm.
with the Super VIP. So we had 4 Super VIP tickets, and these folks got to train with us either on Friday or Saturday, depending on who they were. We had a catered dinner at my house afterwards and a big Q&A, which we'll get into that. But what'd you think of the training on Friday? You trained with Jason Wells. I trained with Amanda Larson. Um, how'd that go? Like, how'd you feel about that? I like the Super VIP.
I love the super VIP thing. I always feel like, at this point in my career, I mean, I always have plenty to know, but I feel like I know a lot about training and how to elicit a response in a muscle and develop a muscle. So I enjoy teaching in that way. I don't think I could ever be a full-time personal trainer, but like when you're dealing with people who really want to learn and really want to build a physique, I enjoy that. And so, I was with Jason Wells, and I mean, he's a businessman, and, it went real well. I mean, we didn't waste too much time bullshitting. We were at it, doing our thing, but we did get some good conversation in. And so, I really enjoy that aspect of it. Even when I'm out of town and other seminars that don't offer VIPs, I'll tell whoever, I mean, hey, if you got 2 or 3 of your people that want to come train with me, send them my way, just, I always offer that up. So I think it's important, and it's fun, it's
Yeah.
just part of teaching, right?
Yeah, I got to train with Amanda Larson. She's actually a client of yours.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I have a client I just finished up working with named Amanda Larson, which was kind of
Okay.
funny. So,
Yeah.
her and I trained. I got to show her just, a different take on how I like
Yep.
to do things and
Yep.
pre-exhaust the muscle. And we
Yep.
really had a good time. So the coolest thing about that too is, you get to make a friend with somebody and you get to be
Yep.
close. Like if she ever messages me about anything like the podcast or a question, like her and I are immediately going to be friends and a little bit closer. And
Yep.
it's just, I just love that aspect of it. So,
Yep.
we got done with that. We got back in and we got everything planned. So let's kick it off with Saturday. Like I said, we didn't have to worry about registration. We didn't have to worry about booth setup.
Mhm.
We actually got a decent night's sleep and we showed up to speak. Let's talk about the number one thing that people worry about. And I get this question all the time, like, how nervous are you to talk in front of people? And, we kind of talked about it on the drive in. I can kind of start this off. I don't get nervous really talking in front of people because this is stuff that we talk about all the time, whether it's on the podcast or a Zoom class or just this is what we do. So the reason why I don't ever get nervous is because this is something I feel like I'm an expert in. I would never present on a topic I'm not an expert in. I just
Right.
wouldn't do it. So I think a lot of people get nervous when they're first starting to speak because they just don't have a lot of experience. What's your take on nerves? How did you feel coming into this?
Yep.
My nervousness, I was nervous, but my nervousness was like, what can fucking go wrong? Which
Go
we will
wrong.
get to, but let's
Yeah.
not jump ahead.
Yeah.
What can go wrong? Does a computer fucking crash? Is the
Yeah.
food not going to show up on time? Are they going to fuck with us because of COVID and people aren't wearing their masks or whatever? So
Right.
that's my nervousness. But what about you, man?
Well, I don't think I've publicly spoken quite as often as you, but I'm getting to the point where I've done enough now that I'm not like super nervous anymore. For me, I was an athlete growing up all my life. And so I get like game day jitters. But for me, the way I handle it, and I think, a lot of people could use this too, before you get into your topic, talk about something that you just 100% know off the top of your head, maybe about yourself or something else, until your voice calms down and things like that kind of settle in, and then start your presentation. but yeah, I haven't been, super nervous and like really worked up since my first one I gave that time at First Forum on insulin sensitivity. And we had that big stage and you're up on that stage and
Yeah, it was
that
big.
room just looked intimidating. And that was like my first, other than like little law things, like being in like a, small common pleas court and giving a little presentation for a client or something, that was probably my biggest event. It was 100+ people. And I was like, oh shit, that was a little rough. But since then, I keep getting better at it. And it's something that I do want to continue to improve on, and I will keep improving on. And so, I've settled in a little bit, but for me, it's just like game day jitter feeling.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about the classes that we gave that day. I paid real close attention to your first one. It was thyroid, and how it works. And dude, you were. I mean, you were already good anyway at the summits every year, but like this was really polished, really really polished. I thought it was one of the better presentations I've ever seen you give, and it was very very informative. But it was kind of cool because we started off, and we didn't do this on purpose. I wish we were smart enough to plan it this way, but we really kind of set the whole conference up to cover metabolism and the thyroid and kind of how all that stuff ties together and works.
Yeah.
And I covered a lot of things from the calories in versus calories outside. I did a lot of that. And you kind of came right behind me and you kind of tied in things from the hormone side. So we kind of gave everybody, a peek at both sides of this, not to mention the natural versus enhanced side. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, we talked about that a lot.
Yeah, we
And I
did.
really thought that covered all the bases. How'd you feel about all your presentations? You talked about the thyroid on day one, and you talked about peaking strategies. Were you pretty
Yeah.
happy with the reception on those?
Yeah, I thought the thyroid probably, people were a little bit more interested in, just because you don't hear about it every day. And I think there's a lot of mystique around it and how it works. And I tried to break that down as simple as possible. And I think people really were receptive. Peaking is one of those things where, people have heard a lot about it, but I did actually get a couple guys who told me later that they really, appreciated that, and having those 4 different, kind of tools in their toolbox. So I guess they all were received well, but if I had to say, I think thyroid was the more popular of the 2 that day.
Yeah, your peaking strategies was really cool, and I liked your presentations because lately you've really been doing this a lot. And you started the Physique Summit last year. You write your presentations in a way you explain everything, but you also tackle problem solving, or you lay it out like peaking, and you basically just give everyone, here is a bulletproof plan, or here's a plan. Now they're going to have to take it and tweak it
Yes.
because
Yep.
that's what coaching is. But you really gave everyone a layout. And dude,
I
we didn't
did.
have shit like that whenever we started out.
No.
So you've really, I mean, people got their money's worth just in one presentation.
100%. Yeah.
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 I do want to talk about, I think the biggest takeaway from the day that people came to understand from a supplement standpoint was ThyroBoost.
Yeah.
And I've gotten this question multiple times. I think people want to come back to it. Glandulars, talk about that and talk about T3 and the thyroid real quick, if you don't mind, with ThyroBoost. And we're not trying to just plug supplements, but I want people to understand there's differences between taking like kelp and stuff like that and just trying to boost your thyroid.
Yes.
But ThyroBoost was designed specifically for this. And there's a
Right.
reason why I carry it on my site. And I want people to understand this is really helpful.
So ThyroBoost has vitamins and minerals in it, first and foremost, to help support the areas of the thyroid that a lot of times people aren't even maybe getting enough of. So, there's conversion, certain minerals for conversion, and certain vitamins that help, to, like if you have not enough vitamin A, you'll actually crank out too much TSH, and you can kind of, run your thyroid into the ground, different things like that. Iodine's really important for conversion of T3 to T4, taurine and things like that is as well. So I went over that and explained how the minerals work and where they help with what processes of the thyroid. And then I explained how ThyroBoost can help. And ThyroBoost also does have glandulars in it. And the thing with glandulars are, they're, bovine glandulars. They actually have some active T3 and T4 in them. People asked at the seminar, well, how much T3 and T4? Well, here's the thing. The FDA says that if we measure it and put it on the bottle, then it's a prescription supplement. So it's trace, it's not a whole lot, but we are not allowed to put that on the bottle. So what you're getting with ThyroBoost is you're getting a trace amount of T3 and T4, but you're also getting all the vitamins and minerals you need to support the processes of conversion and keeping TSH strong and all these different things. So it's a big 1-2 punch in one product, and that's why it's been very popular, because it actually works.
Yeah, we sold the shit out of that at the booth. I mean,
I
they
bet.
got it, but I mean, it's pretty much for everybody. It just doesn't matter. So that I wanted you to explain glandulars one more time for people listening.
Yeah.
Very, very important. All right. So after the event, I talked about metabolic capacity and reverse dieting, something I've
Yep.
talked about a gazillion times, but it went hand in hand because it was the calories in, calories outside of the equation with hormones. So it was a fun event. We wrapped it up 4 classes on day 1, which was a lot. We had a catered lunch. Everybody enjoyed that. And then afterwards, we got to go back to my house, get cleaned up, get a bite to eat. And then we got to head to the gym for the second day of super VIP training
Yep.
with another partner. How'd your training go on day 2 on Saturday night?
Well, we'll get into it in a minute on why it was a little rough, but it was a little rough. I don't think Zach knew, because, a professional doesn't sit there and bitch about it, but I was in pain a good bit on my left side, and we'll explain in a minute. But I don't think he had an idea. I powered through. I did what I needed to do, and the training went well. And, I taught him to slow down and really feel every fiber. And he was really shocked with how much of a difference in recruiting his back when I showed him how to squeeze and how to drive with the elbows, and, hands are hooks, don't pull, these different things that really helped him kind of see. And so he contacted me and said he really appreciated it. He learned a lot. And so, it went really well. So, it was another good session of just teaching, and showing someone how to really body build rather than just lift weights. It's a difference. And once you really understand how to body build, your results will come a lot faster.
Yeah, I got to train with Owen Evans. And the cool thing that, we had a great training session, and we started the training session off based around the fact that we were both real low on sleep. Obviously, you and I were low on sleep because
Oh God,
just a
yeah.
long weekend. Our brains are just mush from teaching 4 classes. He was tired because he hadn't gotten enough sleep because he came in and just out of town.
Yeah.
So we both had to adjust on the fly, which I think is important. So we really started off with high reps, blew our chest up with a bunch of flies, and then we did the rest of our chest workout, and we were trashed. We did a few sets for tries after, and we were just done. But
Right.
it was kind of cool because we both felt that, and we both adjusted on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So then, right after we head to my house, we had a catered dinner from a local grocery store, which was pretty good. Everybody got super VIP packages. So it was close to like $300 worth of supplements from both you and I, from New Ethics and Fat
Yeah.
Muscle. And we sit around and had a Q&A, and that was fun, man. There weren't a lot of us here, which was cool. So it was very small and intimate, but man, we got some really, really good questions answered there. But then the night took a little turn for the worse. It's about 11 p.m. and you're not feeling too good. I had something like this happen at the Physique Summit, just way, way worse the last year. And I'm not going to spend 20 minutes on this, but just real quick, the Physique Summit in 2019 is 30 minutes, 20 minutes before we're supposed to kick the event off. Leslie has this massive pain in her stomach. She's supposed to run registration. I have to take her to the fucking emergency room 20 minutes before we start the event, right? I'm supposed to host the event. Everything's on my laptop. I'm supposed to speak second. All this stuff was happening. We had one of our speakers had a heart attack the day before. He had to drop out of the conference. Brian Whitaker had surgery 2 weeks before, so he couldn't train with people. Like, all this stuff was happening. And then the hotel fucked all our rooms up and put us on different days. And so all this was happening all within a little 24-hour window. And then all this emergency room shit hit. Luckily, within a course of about 15 minutes, I got everybody to jump in and run it. And I missed half of the first day of the summit last year. Okay.
Right.
I show up at lunch. Leslie's okay, by the way. She just had like massive pain in her stomach. We show back up at lunch. She's okay. I walk in, and Cliff brings up a lady named Jenny Rodriguez. And he says, "Hey, Jenny fell down and cut her head open." And I'm like, holy fuck, like what else could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Poor Jenny, like she's awesome. She was at this seminar too. She's
Yeah.
probably listening to this right now. Like she comes to everything. So my stress was fucking sky high. So I actually had to present on the second day. I had to shuffle everybody around my second.
Yeah.
Dude, when I gave my presentation at the summit after all that, it was like I was walking around underwater. My stress was so high. Shit was like in a dream state. I don't even remember it. Apparently I did a good job. But now I say all that because now let's go back to present day. It's
Well,
it's 11 o'clock on Saturday night.
yeah, it's
Everything's
11 on
running smooth.
even before like 11 o'clock, like even with the Q&A, like I wasn't feeling great. And my left lat or left deltoid is jacked up. It's running down into my lat and my neck hurts. And you had mentioned how your throat hurt. So I thought it was just from speaking. And then I started thinking more, and I took a HRT shot there, and I realized that, after speaking to a friend, and that the neck was actually a lymph node, and I was infected.
Mm.
And that's why my digestion was shitty all weekend. I had a terrible training session on Saturday. I mean, like I said, I powered through, and I don't think Zach really knew, but I didn't get the kind of pump. I was flat, like I feel it in my legs, just didn't feel right. And that's not like me. Every training session is usually pretty good for me. So after speaking with a close friend of mine about it all, he's like, man, you don't want to mess with that. Like, guys mess with that and it gets, an abscess. It's got to be drained. It could be, then it need to be cut out. I'm like, God darn, like, it's late at night. I'm super tired. I'd already laid down to ice it. And I come out and I tell you, I'm like, man, everyone's telling me I need to go to the ER and get some antibiotics for this. Can I borrow your car? And obviously John was cool enough to say, dude, I'll take you. Like, you're not going by yourself, which was a huge help because it would have just been way more stressful to drive through Missouri at 11:30 at night trying to find this, hospital urgent care. So we go in and we got taken care of right away, but then we sat for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours before they saw us. I think it
Yeah.
was midnight by the time we got there, I think. And I think it was 1:30, 1:45 before they saw us. And the doctor saw me and, I explained to him what it was. And he's like, yeah, I've seen it before. You just got to be careful. You got to be more sterile and, use your alcohol swabs. I'm like, yeah, I was like, I've been doing this for a while. I just probably got careless. And he pushed on. He's like, man, I don't really think there's an abscess that I got to drain. You're lucky. He's like, you caught it in time. But they give you this clindamycin, and it's a black label antibiotic, meaning there's a lot of sides that come with it. So I've just been exhausted all week on it. It's a 5-day course. This is my last day. Luckily, though, like 2 days into it, my lymph nodes stopped hurting, all that. But anyway, so we get back we pick up this prescription in Walgreens in Springfield, Missouri. There was some interesting characters in that joint. So I'm sitting in there like, man, just one thing after another of my life right now. It's just been I'm just like laughing about it. And so we get back and I'm starving because I just really didn't eat much. I drank a shake, but I really didn't want rice cakes. Nothing sounded good, but we get back. So I freaking stay up and eat. I don't get to bed till 3. We have to be back up that morning at like 7. So I get up and I'm moving so slow. And I'm like, John, I'm not going to be ready to get out of here when you want. I was like, I can make it to the 9, but I just can't go. And so luckily y'all were like, hey, yeah, just take Leslie's car. Get as long as you're there by 9, you're cool. And I rolled in at 8:50 and, I don't think anyone could tell. I mean, I feel like my presentation was, done professionally, but, that whole day, man, I was exhausted and the flight home was miserable. My arm and lat and everything just ached. And I'll be honest with you, I think I strained my lat from training with that knot because I was overcompensating because now my lat like is just kind of lit up. I don't even think I'm gonna do back this week. So it was quite the ordeal. And the funny thing was, like, we joked, I believe, like after our last podcast before I came, like we were just, in the background, but we weren't recording. And we're like, you're like, oh, hopefully there's no emergency issues this time. And I'm like, oh, dude, there's not gonna be any emergency issues. We're all good. Famous last fucking words, man. But you know what? Like, I tried to put on a happy face. I hope no one over the weekend felt like I was in a bad mood or anything. I think I was good. But yeah, I was kind of in pain the whole weekend, and then it just kind of hit that hurdle that Saturday night when that lymph node lit up. So
Yeah, it was, we're sitting out at 24-hour Walgreens pharmacy in the middle of Springfield. Springfield's not too bad, but, it's 2 o'clock in the morning when we're sitting out there. I just waited outside and I see this busted ass white trash car, and I know because I'm from the fucking trailer park. I see it pull up with like 4 kids in there. Their hair's pink and purple and all this
Yes.
bullshit, wearing
Yes.
black hoodies and their fingernails are
Yes.
fucking black. And
They
I
were
just
all
pull
in
my
there.
phone out. I pull my phone out. I'm sitting here videoing this shit because I'm gonna send it to you one day. I'll be like, these
Uh,
motherfuckers that walked in, like this was part of it. So
oh
we're
yeah.
standing in line and there's all these fucking characters around you.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
again, all you can do is laugh at yourself. And I tried to, I think I said one F-bomb and I realized I had to go to the ER. And then at that point, you just like suck it up and do what you got to do.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly, I think it's an important thing for people to hear because I learned from that physique summit how you handle things determines everything. And I mean,
100%.
obviously you handled that well. And you kept saying you're like, dude, I'm so sorry you had to drive me around. And I'm just laughing the whole time, like, dude, we're just gonna laugh about this someday. We're just
Right.
having to laugh about it a week later on the
Right.
podcast. But it was fun time. So now let's skip ahead to we're both tired as fuck. We're running on 3-4 hours sleep. We get there, we give our next presentations. Thank God we kind of front loaded them heavy on Saturday. We only
Yeah.
had 2 to give. I called my talk the unicorn talk on how to add food and take cardio out and lose weight, actually by reverse dieting and losing weight and fat. That was pretty cool. And then you gave the gut health talk, man. And we gave you plenty of time on that. That was one I know that you had scheduled for an hour. I think you went an hour 15, and that was even better. I was like, dude, just take your time on this. Lots of good questions. Have you given that presentation before? Or is that the
Yes.
first time?
I give that. I give that I've given that probably 4 times now.
Yeah. Is that one that you're going to do a Zoom class on soon? Because people
Yes.
need to, okay,
Yeah.
guys,
I
if
got
you're
one. I
listening,
got September 19th coming up for that.
okay, people need to jump in on that because you go over all these different issues. You give the symptoms, what to look for, and then you give
And then
the
application.
protocols to a
Yep.
fucking T on
Yep.
how to fix that. So if you guys take that class or if you were at the seminar, you've got the PowerPoint. Like that's the most perfect. That's perfect. They've got
Yep.
these protocols. So I was pretty happy with that. Then we got to have fun. And, by the time you're
Yes.
presenting, like I got to chill out. We pulled out the laptop and we just recorded the Q&A for our last podcast. That was episode, I think it was 35.
Yep.
And that was a lot of fun. How weird was that trying to record in front of 50 fucking people?
Yeah, it was weird at first, and then because you and I are normally like like this, we're
Right.
across from each other. When there, we were sitting next to each other, and it was weird for like 5 minutes, and then honestly, it just got normal.
Yeah, because you're just answering questions.
Yeah, you're just answering questions.
It was a lot of fun. I'm sitting there about to kick it off, and somebody's walking up to me. I think it was Jason Wells. He like hands me a Monster. I'm
Yes,
like, what the hell, dude?
it
I'm
was
trying to
well.
cut back on my caffeine, and everybody's like, you can't start the podcast without cracking a Monster.
Yeah.
And that kind of told me something. Like, you know what I mean? Like people are paying attention. So that was
Yep.
kind of
Very cool.
funny.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We talked about everything. The booth was great. Kind of what's your thoughts overall on the weekend? I'll
Yeah.
give mine real quick. I think it's super important. The takeaway here, when we first started the event, actually, we welcomed everybody and we said, hey, listen, you said it actually, make one friend, at least make one friend, one connection. And I saw a lot of posts after that. People like Aaron Phillips and Jace from Louisiana. A lot of these people were making connections
Yep.
and posting about people they'd never even met. And I thought that was great advice from you. So I think that was a kind of my great take home as I saw a lot of that happening.
Yep.
These events are so important for people. You just can't get this stuff online. You can't get it through fucking Instagram and Facebook. This in-person stuff's important, man. What takeaways do you have or any feedback you have about the event?
I mean, the takeaway for me, and first and foremost, is obviously, like what I kind of start my talks out with when I say, you need to gather where other obsessed people gather. So it just means like where your passions are, find other people, and then get around them. And it's almost impossible to not get better doing that. And so people who take the time to fly in, drive 12 hours, like, they want to be better, and they're putting in more time than someone else who just puts out an Instagram page and says, hey, contact me for coaching. And so I think that, that goes hand in hand with making friends, but it's more important to be around that energy and to just be around it and get in person knowledge when you're doing it. So that's kind of my thing. But as far as like my takeaway further, I was glad it was successful. I think we can make it even more successful when this COVID shit's over, and I really look forward to doing that. And I hope we can have one in Nashville soon. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I know we've got multiple people have reached out. I've got an idea for an event down south. I'll talk to you about
Nice.
as soon as we're done recording because I
Yep.
know you've got to go. Um, I just want to thank everybody, and I know you do as well. Just thank you
Yeah.
guys for attending. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast if you
Yep.
couldn't make it. But stay tuned because we're not just going to do one of these a year. You know, this has turned out to be kind of lightning in a bottle. I felt it when we are there. It felt just
Yep.
like the Physique Summit. Um, it's just going to be a little bit different layout, a little bit different topics, and I'm excited, man. So I know you got to get, so we're going to close this up for myself and
Sure.
Jason. We're out of here. Thanks, guys.
See ya.